Guys, we are now live.
Awesome. I guess I'm just gonna take it away from here. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the ROG Academy, training session. So to say, I'm Anthony ImpressioN. I'm a Counter-Strike player, ex-professional player from Singapore. I'm currently, still competing, but not professionally anymore. However, throughout the many years of playing competitively and professionally, I've managed to gather a lot of experiences representing Singapore, Southeast Asia, and the APAC region in general on international events such as Intel Extreme Masters or ESL ones and stuff like that. So I'm joining here today as a guest and going to share some of the experiences, my own experiences, to some of the questions that the ROG Academy team has proposed to me, and hopefully you find this session, the players as well as anybody else watching, a formative one that's educational, one that's able to help you along your own journey, going from, say, a casual player to a competitive one, all the way up to perhaps even a semi-professional or professional player. So yeah, I'm super excited, super honored to be here as well, and I think I'm just going to go right into it. And one of the first questions that the ROG Academy players, the team has proposed over to me was how to have better decision making in the game. So I guess first we have to break down what decision making really is and how we can improve on that. So I believe that decision making comes from having experiences in the game, and it can be experienced from watching games, it can be experienced from actually playing games, it can also be experienced from, say, talking to other players about the game, discussing certain tactics, certain strategies, how certain players play certain sports, and that's how you kind of make a playbook of your own of the things that you like to do. For example, decision making as a process in itself has many layers to it, but to make better decisions in game generally require players to, honestly just learn the game and also experience many different things in the game. I think also moving on to kind of the next part of what helps you make a better decision in game is actually information. So information that you gather in a team in a competitive setting, it's very important for you to make the right decisions, such as, for example, in certain situations, whereas I'm just going to change real quick to, say, the nuke, for example, and then just kind of run through the map with everyone and get a good idea of what I'm kind of talking about and how we can use different types of information to make better decisions within the game. So real quick, we're just gonna go through that. So for example, you're a CT. You're defending on nuke, and the enemy starts coming in with outside control. So there's smokes here. Actually, let me just hop onto another map so it's much easier to explain this. This map is really useful, by the way, the utility maps. You guys should definitely have it if you don't already. So let's say, for example, the enemy comes in with the diagonal smokes. And as a CT, you see smokes here, you have no information at all. What is the best thing that you can be doing here is to actually either have your outside player looking for information that can involve things like doing pop flashes, checking through the smoke, seeing if there's anything, or if you completely have no information, that's where you have to make a decision as a team to react well. First, say for example, the A anchor wants to go into HUD and get lobby information. That's a decision in itself. However, information is what leads to that decision. So the information that you have is like, say for example, your outside or main player hears 2 or 3 guys running outside. Eventually, what you want to do is react well with the information, make a good decision here, and then come in with your team. Say, for example, the A anchor and your top hut guy. Say, let's go push hard together. We need that lobby information. That's how you make a good decision. So information is super important on the team, on the individual and the team setting, so that you can make the right decisions. Also, essentially, how you process information is really important as well. At the end of the day, CS is a 5v5 game. It's a numbers game. So if you hear information outside, you count the amount of utility, the amount of footsteps of people running outside or making noise or not at all. You take that piece of information and then you make a decision based off of it. Say for example, there's a really good example here, which is you hear two sets of footsteps outside. So there's one and two people. There's one and two Ts outside. You hear someone on silo. That's 3 Ts outside. The max amount of people that you can meet in lobby is maybe 2, perhaps even 3 if the silo guy has already went away. So again, using numbers, playing the numbers game, and using the information that you've gathered from the team, and from your own perspective, and telling each other what information is, that's where you can make good decisions in game. So generally, this is what it looks like in the team setting. You want to find the most optimal play, whereas you're using information, you're using numbers. Say you don't want to be pushing hard alone and finding a 1v1, whereas the Ts are actually holding you, and there's like a fight. Whereas again, it's the numbers game. There's a lower percentage fight for you to win. What you really want to do is go into hard together with your teammate and find that 2v1 or perhaps even a 3v1 with your ramp player coming in to help as well. So better decision making just comes from having the right information, using your numbers right, and kind of just making sure that whatever decision you make it so that you do it with like a teammate, or if you really have the ultimate timing for play, you have so much information that you can make a play of your own, you go for always the 51% fight and never the 49% fight. Because when it comes to Counter-Strike, at the end of the day, it is a tactical shooter. You have to hit your shots. However, you want to be able to take the fights that you win 51% of the time as opposed to the one that you win 49% of the time. And as you grow as a player, as you gain more experiences, you understand how certain angles work, how a certain, even say for example Counter-Strike, you watch the demo of the opponent that you're playing against. You then understand what sort of angles he could be holding, and then that increases the chance of you winning that gunfight all the way up to 60, 70, 80% even, or even like a 99% guaranteed win in a 1v1 situation. So better decision making in game, once again, I'll just reiterate real quick, comes from experience. Experience comes from watching demos, playing more, and just self-discipline practice. Information comes from your own perspective, your teammates' perspective, as well as even say for example in an official match, counter-striking, watching the demos of the enemy, of your opponents, and understanding how certain players move, what certain utility they throw, that indicates what position they might be in most of the time. And then making sure you play the numbers game. That's super important as well. So whenever you think you have a play, is it possible to involve your teammate? If it is, then involve your teammate. Make the decision together with your teammate, or whoever is with you guarding the bomb side, or perhaps even someone who just happens to be in the right place at the right time, bring him along, and then find the most optimal play. And the most optimal play is what decision making basically is. You want to find the best play for that particular situation to optimize the chances of you getting the man advantage, making a 5v4, 5v3, or making a 4v5 on your side where you have the deficit, making a 4v5 into like a 4v4 or 4v3. So generally, that's how better decision making is done. Once again, experience, information, playing the numbers, and then finding the most optimal play. So I guess that is more or less it for how to have better decision making in game. I think there's a lot more things to cover, such as individually, when is the right time to push and all this. All this comes from experience and again, who you're playing against, how your team generally functions. But there's just so many layers to, making good decisions. And honestly, I think it really does take time, and it really does take experience for a player to always make the right decisions. Even today, after playing, I think Counter-Strike since I think I've been playing for 12 years now, or 11 years now. I've been playing since I was 17. I'm 28 this year. I still do make decisions that I myself don't feel satisfied with, and that's where you can review your own decision making, your own movement, how you take certain fights against certain people, if you had utility that you didn't use or anything like that, and then you can just gain that experience and become a better player overall. So I think wrapping up decision making, I bet there's a couple of questions that my very handsome ROG Academy guys want to ask. So players, please take it away. Do you have anything that you think you don't understand too well or want to know more about? Please go ahead.
I'll ask one. So most of the times, what happen that we as a team we get the first frag multiple times, like most of the times in the round as a T side. So how what will be your approach towards the round after that?
I would
That
say
yeah.
I would say this is a team level decision making,
Okay.
and generally, if you're up a man, and say okay, so real quick example, let's say for example you do diagonal smokes here. Someone, your T, the CT comes for info, you punish, and then
Yeah.
5v4 you have secret, but you haven't had a round finish in mind yet. You can still go A because you have a lobby lurker. You can now go B as well if your team groups up and comes to secret, and then you just go secret together into B and just finish the round. So generally, what you want to do here is again trading information, because as things are happening along the round, I would say the most likely situation is the outside CT that's guarding it is down. Is he's eliminated. It's
Yeah.
5v4 right now. And then maybe your lobby guy hears the guy dropping vent, or hears the vent breaking, or maybe your radio guy hears the ramp guy going down to B. So this is where you kind of just hold and then see if there's more people that you can punish, that more cities that you can punish that's looking for information, or you just trade all your information with each other, throw all the information out there, nice, calmly, slowly. Okay, guy, one is down vents, there's only one A right now, or for example, the ramp guy rotated B, there's no one ramp right now, and then you got free space. So you make the decision to take more space, more space, more space, and eventually, as you take more space, say for example, there's a guy, you have people grouped up here. There's 3 guys here. There's a guy down vents. He might have smoked like this right here right now, and you see you have like a protocol or certain guideline as a team to say we can break this smoke and we can just go, or you can just do a good flash and you can just go through the smoke together, trade this guy, and that's where you speed up. So what's really important in when you have the man advantage is to actually slow down. Once again, decision making, like I mentioned, information plays a big part. You get all the information that you can possibly get, and then you throw the numbers at them, and you find the most optimal play to finishing the round.
Understood.
Awesome.
Anyone else have any questions? I'm done with mine.
No, nothing from me.
No, not from my side.
Yeah, everything's pretty clear.
As a CT, what approach you might want to take if you are planning that you are already 4v5 or 3v5, but you have information that the bomb is still not in. For example, the bomb is not yet to come at the B side. You have information. So what will be your approach as a CT if you are playing a anchor? So would you like to commit to the fight, or you'll just save?
I would say that in a 4v5 situation as a CT, if you have prime positions to still hold a bomb site and they haven't committed to anywhere yet, saving is definitely not the most optimal play, because there's still a chance that they come to you and you win the round. So say for example, I could be right now the A anchor, and then I've completely lost information outside. My outside guy is down, is already dead, and we have no information on outside. However, I still have a teammate near heaven, so they can't split me. They can't do A heaven split. However, they can come through mini or main and heart and door at the same time, and they can still split it. So it's moments like this, whereas information that you've gathered. So say for example, I was the guy outside. I went for info. I saw 3 outside. So when I see 3 outside as the outside guy, your CT caller or whoever has the best idea should probably say, guys, there's 3 outside. Let's clear lobby together and then take control of that. So the moment you go and clear lobby and you have like full lobby control, even if they want to go A, they have to clear really, really awkward angles in order to make sure that they can actually put down the C4. So that it is really situational, because you could clear lobby, you could like take one guy down in this 4v4, you could stay in lobby, you could move out of lobby, or you could just gamble stack somewhere. So again, it does depend on the type of research that you have on the enemy team. on your opponents. And also, say for example, if you're in practice, then definitely try everything out and see what brings like the best outcome for you.
Okay, thanks.
Anytime, brother.
Impression, even I have a question.
Sure.
Let's say you're playing T side in maps like Ancient and Mirage, and the
Mhm.
CTs are always playing aggressive and taking mid from you or highway from you. So, what would be your take on that? Should we play passive or should we try to fight fire with fire and go aggressive at them?
I think that will depend largely on how your team functions, because every team, so this kind of leads into the next question. However, just briefly touching on this will be every team needs to honestly be on the same page. You should have certain fast takes, you should have slow takes as well. And depending on how, say for example, CT is playing aggressively, is it punishable by playing it slow or by playing it fast against them? It's definitely something you have to figure out as a team and as players. What are your preferences? Do you want them to waste all their utility and then you just contact them, or you go with one flash, or you go with like, or you just chuck utility, your whole village at them of utility, and then just fight them and see what happens from there. So it does depend on each team's guidelines and protocols, and this is very based on how a team is built, your foundation, your fundamentals, and how you want to apply your skill against the opponent team.
Okay.
But for me, if you're asking me, like, what is my preference? If someone's bringing the fight to me, I'm gonna bring the fight to them, man. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna be anyone's little bee, if you know what I mean.
So we don't stop and let them take the space and then go slowly.
Yeah.
Definitely fight them. And
Yeah.
if the way you play a certain round doesn't match up that well against how they play their rounds, it's kind of like it's the round all again. Scissors, paper, stone. Someone could be stacking B, you have perfect B execute, and then they have 4 there, and it's just kind of tough. But it's something that you figure out along the way as a team. Maybe you have like this ultimate god flash, the flashes of all flashes, and then you throw that flash, and everyone will be blind. Everyone will be blind. Then definitely you're gonna be fighting mid or highway or anything like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. I guess if nobody has anything else they have in mind, we can move on to question number 2.
Sure.
Yeah.
Everyone's good?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. So the second big question that was again proposed to me was how to adapt faster in a game if you see something new. So I think if we talk about competitive setting, generally you will not see anything that you haven't seen already in, say, demo reviews. Say right now ROG Academy is playing against Team ABC, and Team ABC plays like outside control nuke in a certain way. So you already know what they're gonna do, and you have a plan in mind of how you're gonna like go against it. So for example, again, diagonal smokes outside or nuke. Maybe you already have a guy who wants to play aggressive red, and you already have a pop flash ready to throw against them, so that your aggressive red guy gets the pick and then falls back, or gets the pick and then or goes like full donk mode here and kills everyone and you win the round. So there's like a million different ways to approach it. However, if you see something new in a competitive setting, my best suggestion would honestly to be taking pauses to discuss the situation. So tactical timeouts are 100% going to be there in a competitive setting. So make use of them, be it the IGL, be it the guy outside that needs to talk about the situation, or even the coach calling for a timeout, so that you guys can just take a 30-second breather, discuss how you can make like small micro adjustments. Maybe the flash needs to come later, maybe the player needs to be a bit more passive, maybe even go more aggressive outside together, or 2 or 3 guys fighting outside as maybe like a CT push plan. And making sure that whatever you see, there is something new, you adapt to it on the fly, is something that can be done off the server, before the game goes live in a competitive setting, or even something that can be done like straight on the fly, on the spot. It really depends on, again, your decision making as a player and as a team within the game itself. And reacting to the opponent's plays, the enemy's plays, is also very important. So again, it kind of goes back into decision making. Whereas, how do you adapt? If you know they put many people outside, the T's are heavy outside, and as a CT, you have to react. It's exactly like what I just discussed a little bit earlier on, whereas you just make a decision as a team to go and take lobby together. So that's also adapting, right? Because you know they're heavy outside. You know you have free real estate in lobby. So go ahead, grab that real estate, and then play the situation. Play the situation off of what happens, what sort of control they have. So you're consistently just trading, map control, space, and information with the opponent team. So I'm just gonna swap over to another map that is, I believe, is very map control based. Really quickly. So Dust 2 is one of the maps where I feel map control makes or break your T side. It's essentially the same for every other map. However, there is a prime example of how map control can work really well on Dust 2 that teams often don't really realize. So say it's 4v4 right now. You're on the T side. You already have a good. You already have like an upper cat, and he's locking this particular angle here. So what happens here is that no one on the CT can rotate. Whatever information you get from B, they're gonna be 1 or they're gonna be 2B, and they're gonna be stuck like that. So what's the best place to hit here? You go A short and A long. So essentially, adapting is finding again reactions to trading map control, and for example trading map control and making the right plays as a team. So CTs now on Dust 2 are really, really aggressive. You could encounter many setups whereas they boost the shot with AVP, and then they also have one CT LT, and it's super dangerous for your tunnels guy to come and do default. So as you adapt, essentially, for example, your default, your bread and butter play is just to have this flash and then clearing this and then moving up. But then you encounter this guy. He's playing super aggressively. So what's the next thing that you can do? You adapt to it. Instead of flash, you do molly as well. Clear out the close angles. You get a flash from here, and then you also get a flash from your top mid guy. And then this way, you're just super safe when you're doing your default. And you get the map control essentially by just using a little bit more utility. So that's basically adapting faster in the game. Again, as a player, I think every player should have their own playbook. They should know how to run their default in the most optimal way to minimize utility usage while maximizing amount of space and map control that you can be grabbing. So reacting to how the enemy plays is super important. But that stems from your own experience as a player and what sort of decisions again you want to make when you're doing your defaults. Because I think one of the worst things that you can be doing as a Counter-Strike player is to be going through the motions and just doing things without actively thinking of, why am I throwing this particular flash? Why am I throwing this particular molly here? These are things that players don't realize that sometimes they do, and they just mindlessly do it, and essentially they're wasting, say, for a molly for a CT team that just never plays aggressive. A CT team could be aggressive, they could just forever be playing on side because they have such a good setup there, because they have some sort of amazing Superman flash that you never know about. But essentially what you want to do is realize what you're doing, and every action should have a impact and an outcome that is the most optimal for you. So adapting faster involves taking pauses to discuss the situation. You could also say, for example, I'm the LT guy, I was doing my default, I got opt here, now I'm down, I'm dead. What am I gonna do? I'm gonna start typing in team uppers, boosted shot all the time, 3 rounds in a row. Let's flash him. Let's flash him, or let's go late long take. So there's just many ways that you can be already out of the round, but still contributing to the next round or contributing to this round. And as you type, you start your own thought process. You start that chain of communication between the rest of your team. That's where you guys realize what is the most optimal play against this team, and you're adapting like really, really quickly. So those are things that you kind of do on the fly, and before and during the practice game or the official game, and things that you can help yourself just always make the right decisions and adapt accordingly to what they're doing, and eventually becoming a more solid player overall. So one last thing for adapting faster in the game is also having good protocols, and rotations and setups, stuff that is already discussed beforehand. So
Yeah.
protocols, say for example, let's say you're a CT A long guy, and you always, let's say for example, you have the 3 A long guys taking control. So if one of your dedicated A guys has the best spawn, so the protocol would be this guy would always throw the door molly as he runs up. So he runs up, he throws the door molly, and then CT2, CT3 already knows what they need to be doing. So these are the protocols that you need to be having as a team, and also reacting certain way. So say I'm this first CT. I come here, I throw the molly, I hear someone burning, I'm asking for flash. That guy already knows what flash he's gonna throw. I already know what pop flash I'm gonna throw, and then we're just gonna end up fighting this together. So these are protocols that you have, and then there are also guidelines within the team, whereas it's a little bit more flexible. So say for example, I'm CT number 3. I'm the guy in charge of throwing flashes. I'm just holding my flasher. I don't always have to throw this because maybe my teammates in front of me is telling me, "Hey, there's no one long." So, but if there is, then they already know what I'm gonna throw. And if they don't come, I save 2 flashes that I can use for something else later in the round. So protocols are super important. How certain, say for example, the opponent plays like their set A or their set B or their set C, and then you react by executing your own set play X, Y, or Z. Rotations is one of them. Your CT setups is another one of them. Having all of this really helps. Say for example for B, you could be playing double B doors. You could be playing 2 in B, and then you're just leaving mid to come mid to B, and you can have a set play. Whereas if they're gonna come mid to B, you're gonna smoke door, and then all you have to really do is watch 2 angles with your teammate, or perhaps even you have a set play whereas you're gonna smoke doors and you're gonna flash like this, while your teammate from CT is gonna flash like this, so that you can come out and fight mid, and then you're gonna sandwich mid as they come mid to B. So these are your setups that will help you adapt really quickly, because you realize they're abusing a certain space, a certain location, and what is the most optimal play that your team has, what is the most optimal setup or rotation that your team has in order for you to counter their plays. So adapting is essentially knowing what they're doing, first realizing what they're doing, and then adapting by discussing about it and discussing and also having conversations and communicating about what they're doing, and then adapting itself by using the most optimal play again, the most optimal setup, the most optimal rotation, or the most optimal, place that you can be fighting in order to stop whatever they're doing. So protocols and guidelines are super important, so that you can adapt well. So if you're say for example a team whereas you don't have all of this figured out yet, when they start doing something, you're gonna take a lot of time to adjust, and that's going to eventually lose you more rounds that you would like to. Say for example they have like a super good mid to B split, and they're gonna do it over and over again. You're gonna get 2-3 rounds to adjust to that. So taking pauses is super important if you need to do things on the fly. However, it's also a good idea if you really can't stop something, but you have a setup. You had a setup that you spoke about before, you just forgot about it. Take a pause, take a breather, realize what you can do against the opponent that is, basically giving you a hard time, making things difficult for you, and then just executing afterwards. So, yeah, I would say that's more or less it for adapting faster in the game. You just need to have good fundamentals, a good foundation that you have built upon, because I think what's most important in a team is like, imagine you're constructing a building as a team. You have the foundation, and the foundation has to be strong so that your 5 players and the coach, the 6 of you, can make 6 really strong pillars for you to be like a really strong building, and nobody can take you down. So I guess that's more or less it for adapting faster. However, once again, in Counter-Strike, there's many different layers to it. It's kind of studied science now, whereas people basically know what they should be doing when certain things occur. However, there are definitely things that on a team level that teams are doing different from each other, that suits their playstyle, that you guys can try and apply and make it yours. So I guess having spoken about adapting faster in the game, any of you have any questions that you'd like to just throw it out there, see whether or not I can help you out with?
Actually, I do.
Mhm.
So we face a lot of issues staying on the same page. Like we are on the same page when the round starts, and if something haywire happens, like we are not on the same page, and everyone acts out individually and not as a unit. So how do you encounter this? Do you have a set protocol before game, or do you have some words in game? So to stay on the same page most of the times.
I guess having keywords is something that really helps.
Okay.
So in a previous team of mine, what I would actually utilize was to tell everybody to just chill, guys. Everyone just chill and breathe, and then everyone would just stop and then just remember what they're supposed to be doing. And it can be during the round itself, whereas we have like a minute or something to just kind of wait and see what happens, or it could be during like during halftime, during freeze time, or even during the pauses. So what's important is that I think this kind of goes into the next question: how to stay on the same page as a team is your communication on and off the server. So on the server, you gotta be talking to your teammates about the right thing, uh, what you are going to be doing, and then also hear and listen and actively hear what your teammates are telling you, and that way you're on the same page together. Because I believe every Counter Strike player, deep within their minds, there is a map. Whenever you're playing, say for example Dust 2, within my head there's a little mini map of where my teammates are, what they're doing, and where the CTs or the Ts are, and what they are possibly doing, and that draws like a really good picture for me of where my opponents are, where my teammates are, and what we can do together. And this also stems from the fact that I'm also generally most of the time I'm in-game leading, so I have a good idea of what the map looks like and how we can abuse CT rotations or abuse certain spaces that Ts might not have. And that's just communicating on the server, making sure that everybody is aware of what they're doing and what each other is doing, and then that way you can always be on the same page most of the time. At least there are moments whereas certain things don't come out, or someone's in a really pressured situation whereas there's not much they can say or not much information they can give. However, I think in a professional setting, what's the most important is that everybody, tries their best, give the information that your IGL needs, or your partner, or your like bomb side buddy, or the guy who's like your support player or your entry fragger know. That way that you can find the best situation and find the most optimal play together as a team. So off the server communication, staying on the same page is just basically talking rotations, talking setups with your bomb side buddy, talking to your rotator of what sort of flashes that you need, what sort of utility, what sort of tools that they can be using and doing to help you. Say, maybe you need your rotator to come in and smoke mid doors, maybe you need your rotator to come in and smoke tunnels for you, or maybe you need a rotator to just chuck his smoke here onto the B side and then he can just go and play mid alone. So off the server communication is super important as well to make sure that you're staying on the same page.
Understood. Thank you.
No problem, you're welcome. So adapting faster in the game, if we have any more questions.
Anyone else?
No, nothing from me.
All right. Just so actually we kind of segue into it anyway. The third big question that I want to answer here today is how to stay on the same page as a team. So I've touched a bit on communicating on and off the server. That's basically how you make sure that when you're playing, you're on the same page, making sure what your teammates, making sure you know what your teammates are doing, making sure you let your teammates know what you are doing, and what sort of information is coming from the opponents as they're doing things. And it could be something as simple as, I only have one smoke for B, I need another one, can you please help me? Communicating is just super important. And off the server, like I've mentioned, is your setups, your rotations and stuff like that. So essentially what you want to do to be on the same page is talk theory. So aside from, say, arranging scrimmages and practice matches, what you want to do also is to spend time as a team doing theory talk. So theory talk is just basically understanding the current meta and what playstyle suits your team the most and kind of just adopting it as your own. Essentially, right now for Dust 2, I personally feel that a B-pop is nigh impossible to stop. So I also like to call like B-pops when the timing is right. However, it requires a lot of theory in the sense whereas you need to know your utility. You need to know what sort of utility you need to be throwing in order to make like your B-pop the most efficient. Oh my, I missed my smoke. I guess I'm not doing enough theory. Yeah, so essentially what you want to do is make sure that your team is again on the same page when it comes to say doing a B-pop. You need to make sure your smokes are right, who's running what line. Say your entry fragger needs to 100% throw this flash, and he needs to run this certain line. So this is being on the same page by doing dry runs and making your executes perfect. So theory is important because if you're just running it at the CTs as a T without proper utility, proper running lines, you're definitely not going to execute the B pop differently every round, and you're just basically all not on the same page, and you're just adjusting small things on the fly, and I would say 80% of the time that will never work out unless you're just going out and then just hitting every shot. I would say like a superstar park team would probably make that work. However, is still not the most optimal way, in my opinion, to be playing Counter-Strike. So, finding what suits your team is important, and then adopting it as your own is also very important. Because you could have like naturally really aggressive players. However, if your team starts playing in a very slow way, whereas you want to really punish the CTs for their aggression in a more passive playstyle, it might not work that well for your players, and then your players might feel really uncomfortable. I believe in a team setting, what a good coach and in-game leader does is making sure that they put their players in positions where they can like really shine, they can do really well. So a great example, I guess, would be one of my ex-teammates, Accurate, is a Opper. If I put him in a rifle role, it's not going to work out very well for him. It's not going to work out very well for my team either. So finding things, aside from roles, finding the play style is also important, and making it the way that you, as IGL, for example, wants to call, or as a team in general wants to play is equally as important. So this depends on the amount of work you put into VOD reviews, demo reviews, understanding the current meta, understanding how a certain map is played, how you can lock certain zones to make your life easier. And as a team, I think overall, having done theory, you will definitely be able to understand the game more, understand the map more, and essentially perform a lot better. So, staying on the same page as a team, again, guidelines and protocols, which I slightly touched on. Guidelines are things that you set as guidance, whereas you really should be doing this. But if there's a certain situation, whereas it occurs and you don't need to be wasting a certain flash, you don't need to be wasting a certain smoke or molotov, then it's a bit more flexible. However, for protocols, those are generally a lot more strict. So one of the protocols I always employ, regardless of whether I'm playing competitively, I'm playing in a tournament, or if I'm even just pugging, is that if you're up in the man advantage and you don't know where the last guy is, just never commit to angles. So say for example it's a 3v1, I'm a CT, I have a teammate over there at long, he's holding long, I have a teammate over there in B, he's holding B, and then I'm short here. So what I'm gonna do, regardless of what weapon I'm using, maybe if I'm opping, yes I can be marking, but if I'm generally rifling, what I want to do is just be jiggle picking. So this eliminates the possibility of a guy coming in here, insta you, and then it's 2v1, and makes the situation a lot tougher. It also makes economy tougher. There's just many things that one death can just lead to, that can snowball in later parts of the game. So these are things that you call a protocol. You want to have a protocol whereas if you have the man advantage, just jiggle pick, let him take the space, and then the moment you see him, okay, guys is short, then this way your long guy comes here and you're here as well, and then you guys can just mark him together. Or it could be you're just running back to ramp, and then you're jiggle picking. If he's committing, your long guy has a flash, he flashes for you, you take a good fight. So this comes from this, basically, like I said, many layers. Your decision making, Your personal decision making here is listening to the protocols that your team has set, whereas you don't commit to a fight alone and don't give him opportunity to make up for the deficit that he's already in, and then you're adapting to the situation, whereas your teammate has a flash, he flashes for you. If your teammate doesn't have a flash, you jiggle pick, and when he's committed, you swing them together, or maybe your long guy takes the angle instead, and when your long guy sees him, then you swing him together. There's just many ways to use a different. There's just many ways to use a protocol that is set in stone, that you just almost is like a rule that you just almost never break, and then involve your entire team in it, and then just getting the highest chance of winning the round in a clean manner. So this also helps in intense situations, because then, say for example, it's 11-12. You're 11, you're down 1, you need to force OT, right? And then if you don't have the protocol, maybe this guy gets jittery, he gets nervous, he starts fighting him, he gives him the man advantage, and then that turns into a 2v1. Again, long guy is kind of isolated, he can just be watching this angle, and then his teammate is rotating, and perhaps he gets caught off guard, it's 1v1, and then maybe you lose like 11-13. So there are rounds where as the enemy is just hitting shots, and you're not doing the right things as a team, because you don't have the protocols, you don't have the fundamentals, you don't have the foundations laid down, and then you just give away a round that should really be yours. So this simplifies, having protocols, good protocols simplifies the actions you have to take in order for you to win rounds, especially during intense situations. So some other protocols, for example, is say I'm a T and I made a play here and I got really good space here, and I hear one guy rotating. So another protocol you can implement into your team is just having a keyword that tells your team to not do anything. So what I used to do was we will say the word guys freeze. So everybody freezes. Nobody does anything. Nobody goes for a risky pick or anything like that, or goes for a fight. And then I say, usually what the player who has the play would say is, guys freeze, I have a play. And then he would make that play. And while he's doing this, he's gonna tell the team, I have a play, I can kill the B guy, you guys can come B, and then he gets the B guy, and then you have B for free. So these are again protocols that you can implement in the team. You can also set up easy keywords to use protocols such as like double picking or having contact plays, and just making full use of all these fundamental things, really basic things, to enhancing the opportunity, enhancing the chances of you winning rounds. So I guess staying on the same page as a team involves on-server communication, off-server communication, a lot of theory and setting down like the foundation of how your team is going to be run. So I would say that is the gist of it. There are many, many more things that you can do as a team, but that is the general idea, the very basics and fundamentals of staying on the same page as a team. So again, I'm gonna open it up to any questions that you guys might have. Please take it away, please.
Yeah, I have
If
one question. Okay,
Okay,
Karan,
you go.
okay,
You
very
go,
well.
Dragon. It's okay.
Yeah, I have one question. Like, how we are communication off server, right? So in game, like, how not to get zoned in your aim while playing the round, and
Yep.
forget to comms in the round, like
Yep.
in while fighting. How do you fix
So
that? Yeah.
I guess it is quite natural for players to be so zone, like he could be so focused that he zones out on other fundamental things that he should be doing, such as communicating. However, this is up to individual player to recognize that and then also improve on that himself. So say for example, I'm a player whereas I shoot really well and I really need to focus to shoot, but when the enemy is coming, I don't tell, I'm just shooting, and then I'm not saying anything. So when this happens during practice and matches and anything like that, so this is kind of where the rest of the team needs to tell him, hey, bro, I know you can shoot really well, but you need to at least tell me how many people are coming to be. And this player needs to, like, it can be a demo review of his own play. It can be him recording his screen when he's playing, or even maybe the coach recording his perspective while spectating this player and the comms at the same time, and then telling, hey, okay, so this situation is happening. What you really got to do is just when they're coming, you wait a while and then you start talking and then you can start fighting. So there's different things that a player can apply, can do to improving on this particular thing. But it's definitely up to how I guess open to learning and also how coachable a player is in order to make that happen.
Right, right. I see. Thank you.
You're welcome. How to stay on the same
I-
page as a team? Anyone else?
Yeah, I have one question. Like, if
Mhm.
1 out of 5 players doesn't follow protocol, or like he's out of focus, he's not in his A game, and
Yeah.
he's like whiffing and all stuff. So how can that guy be useful for team rather than be support guy?
So I would say that the reason why protocols exist is so that even if you're having a terrible game, you're always doing the right thing, action and movement wise, right? So, like again, the situation whereas it's a 1v3, let's say I'm the B guy now, I'm not having the greatest game of my career. I'm whiffing a lot of shots, but I'm listening to the protocol. Whereas when the guy starts coming, I'm jiggle picking. I see him, and then I'm waiting for my teammates to help me, and that is where the protocols come into play because I'm not gonna. I'm definitely like not confident, or I'm just basically not hitting good shots. So I wait for my teammate to come here, and then he could be just throwing a flash for me to help me get that fight to a higher percentage win, and or he could be coming to mark him from B doors, and then that way we get like a double pick on him. So I would say that's the whole point of protocols, is to make sure that even in the worst and the most intense situations, you're still doing the right thing and you're still communicating well. You're still trying to call for double picks, or you're getting support flashes from your teammates, so that you can get a fight that you can win much easier. There are moments where it's like players zone out, and then they maybe see the guy, they get bloodthirsty, and then they just go for the fight, they lose it,
Yeah.
or they go for the fight and they win it. Then it's just like a gentle tap on the back, as like from the in-game leader or from your coach to tell him like, hey, the protocol is just kind of wait for your team, right? And then he needs to acknowledge that, he needs to understand that his play here was not optimal, and then just improving from there on. Because I don't believe I believe a lot in winning. Winning is winning is the best feeling in the world. It's super fun. But for me, when you take the L's, you just take it as a lesson. You just never take it as a loss, because there's always something you can learn from it. So that's kind of what you want to apply here at all times if you want to become a better player.
Right.
Okay, cool. So staying on the same page as a team. Any more questions before we move on to the next?
Not from me.
No, nothing.
No.
All good from everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess we're just gonna do a quick recap. We've gone through how to have better decision making in the game. We've gone through how to adapt faster in the game, how to stay on the same page as a team, and then now down to the more individual stuff would be how to be consistent overall. So I'm gonna break this down into two parts. You have individual consistency, and then you have team-based consistency. So as an individual, what's important? I'm just gonna switch maps here real quick again. As an individual, what's important for you to be consistent? I think the number one most important thing is hard work, dedication, and practice. And this thing comes from being very disciplined. You need to have the right mindset, the right mentality, for making sure that you constantly want to improve. I think one of the worst feelings that a player can get is like he feels like he's in a slump, he's stuck in a rut.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's just because he's not practicing the right way and he's not feeling like he's improving. So individually, what's important when it comes to practice is goal and target oriented practice. Meaning that whenever you're practicing, say scrims, or you're shooting bots, or you're in deathmatch, you're not just doing it by trying to fulfill your quota of the day. What you're actually doing is having a goal in mind, a target in mind, and make sure that whatever practice you're doing, you're consciously putting in an effort. So making conscious efforts into improving your own play is super important. So for me, myself, for example, I have an aimbots routine that I do on the daily. Essentially, what I do is I would do 500 AK kills, 500 M4 kills, 500 USB kills, 500 Glock kills, 200 Deagle, and 200 AWP kills. And I will always do it the same way. So with AK, I'm just moving a lot. I'm just practicing bursts, sprays, everything under the sun that could be applicable in a live game. I'm also spending a bit of effort doing flicks. I try and make sure that my aim is on point. I try and do whatever I can to make sure that whatever I'm doing is things that could happen in a live official game. So that way, it just makes sense for me to be practicing stuff like this. So it's a like I mentioned, it's a conscious effort. So why am I tapping? Because I might use it. Why am I bursting? Because again, I must use it. So this is like a conscious effort to what you're doing. And eventually, as time goes on and you put in more effort into this individual practice, your aim gets better. I've had like very positive feedback from people that I've shared my aim routine with, that they feel like they can aim a lot better, and their muscle memory and their conscious aiming, the decision making that they make of shots they take versus what they don't take and what fights they take has improved significantly after trying my routine. Again, this routine may or may not work for you. You may have your own routine. However, what I really suggest is that whatever you're doing for your routine is a conscious effort. Conscious in the sense whereas one day you feel like your aim is off, you head into the aimbots map, you start recording your screen, right? And then you do exactly what you do all the time. And then you go and watch the recording, slow it down to 0.5 times the speed, and see, are you over flicking? Are you under flicking? Is your sprays not accurate because you're not controlling your recoil well? There's a million and one things you can do. You just gotta be like really innovative about it. You just gotta be really open to learning and improving yourself. For in order for you to like consistently be individually consistent all the time. So having a strict routine you adhere to for different departments of mechanics is something that you want to have a goal and a target for. So I just shared with you guys my aim routine. So some other things that you can be doing for other departments of the mechanics could be, say, for example, the utility map that I shared. I honestly feel this is quite useful as someone who didn't play professionally or competitively for a quick minute, for a hot minute. I felt that having stuff like this is super nice, because then you can learn and make sure that you always have the best utility ready. So right now, I hope I can throw this. If I don't, then I guess I'm kind of sad. I need to put more time into it. Yeah, so without
more
help,
serious session for you.
without help with utility, I am able to throw at least a good 60% of it. Please make it. No, I failed. Yeah, so essentially having a strict routine that you adhere to for your aim improvement, your utility improvement, and demo review, so that you can understand what sort of things that players are doing all the time that is most efficient. Say you could be like the mid control guy, you need to watch demos, you need to understand how a certain player, say, comes in for mid control as a T, and overall just making sure that whatever you do is a conscious effort. You're just not just like, say, watching a demo just because you think, oh, I just want to learn this particular flash lineup and the way that he runs. You have to understand why a certain player does a certain running line, just because not just following just because, but understanding why they're doing certain things, why they're doing like ABC running line or XYZ running line, why they are getting a certain pop flash from a teammate, and just fully making a conscious effort of trying to understand and comprehend, and then reviewing that and adding it into your own playbook. So individually, I guess, to be consistent, what you have to do is also have your own playbook, whereas these are things that you do all the time, be it in parks, be it in practices, being in tournaments, that you're going to do always, and you're going to do it to the best of your ability. So I think a good example here would be, I generally play B shot. Regardless of parks or practices or tournaments, I always try and get my spot, and I always want to do the same thing that I do. I do a molly chair, I do pop flash mid, I do one more flash mid, and then I come out with my team. And whoever I play with, I mainly play with like the same few people. But if you're playing in a team, then you're always gonna be playing with the same 5, right? You're gonna let your teammate know that, hey guys, this is my play. This is how I wanna fight mid. So I'm gonna molly this. I'm gonna flash like this, and then I'm gonna flash like this. So my connector guy can come out. My window guy can break the smoke, or he can jump out as well. And then we're just gonna be fighting mid like this. So you need to have your own playbook and different ways of getting certain fights, the most optimal fights, and understanding why you're doing X, Y, or Z flash, why you're running a certain line, how you're taking certain fights, and how your teammates can help you at the same time. And if you do it all the time, right? You do it in practice, you do it in tournaments, you're going to essentially net the same result. You're going to be very good with it. You're going to be very consistent with the way you do this set of utility, and the way you swing, and the fights that you take, the angles. You're all just so used to it, and that's how you be consistent individually or overall. And I would say this helps a lot in practices. This helps a lot in tournaments, and there is like 3 modes that you can have as a player. You can have the park mode, whereas you're just playing like a pickup game, or you're just playing a face it. You're just playing an MM, doesn't matter. And you can do whatever you want here. But what you really want to do is try things that you've never tried before and see if it works. And also at the same time, continue to use what you already have within your playbook in order to create space, get a frag, or even just to play with the opponent and make them think that you're doing something when you're really not. And you try new plays, and you try your stuff that you already have in your playbook. And that way, you get to experience new things within a park game. So you're not just playing because you just want to play some CS. You're playing because you want to try something, you want to improve on something that you already have. And once that works in like a park mode, you go into practice. And before you go into practice, you tell your team, hey, I figured this thing out. I saw this thing. I tried it in the park. I think it really works. Let's try this in practice with our team. You try that, and then if that works, you try more, 3, 5, 10 times within practices. And eventually you experience all the situations that competitive teams can offer to you. You take that as an experience, and then you bring it to a tournament. So these 3 modes, you must have it, and usually they are applicable in different settings. So you don't want to bring park mode into the tournaments. You don't want to do practice modes you don't want to bring practice mode into tournaments. Eventually, all these 3 styles of playing leads to becoming a better tournament player. So that's what you're really aiming for here, because what all of us want is to be a professional player one day. We want to get playing CS. We want to enjoy playing CS, and we want to enjoy getting paid to play CS, and just be a professional player and competing and just having fun overall. So once again, like I said, winning is really fun. Practicing honestly sucks. Losing sucks way worse. But it all leads to everything you do, all leads to the win eventually one day, and it will all pay off. So once again, how to be consistent overall. Individually, I'm just gonna wrap this up real quick. Goal and target oriented practice, conscious efforts as well into improving how you play. It can be aimbots, it can be deathmatch, it can be utility maps, it can be recoil master. Not the player, and many different ways that you can apply practicing and becoming better. You just need to make a conscious effort of doing it, not just going through the motions. Having a strict routine as well is very good. So this requires a lot of self-discipline, a lot of regimentation from oneself, making sure that you do it on a daily. So at first, I did my aim bots and my aim routine in the morning. I realized that games in Asia generally play till quite late, like 11 p.m. Singapore time, even 1 a.m. Singapore time at times. So I started doing my aim routine late at night to adjust, to adapt, so that it makes more sense that when I'm super tired, I can still aim very well. And then the last one is just understanding, your park mode, your practice mode, and your tournament mode, how to apply them, how to use them to make yourself a better player overall. So that's individual consistency. I think consistency, to sum it all up, comes from confidence, and confidence is built upon practice. Because if you practice hard enough, if you do the same boring thing for hundreds of times, all over and over and again, you're gonna be super confident when you're doing it. Because there's nothing you haven't experienced already. You're gonna come out, you're gonna swing out, you're gonna do your molly, you're gonna do your flashes, you're gonna swing out short, you're gonna be ready for every angle along the byways, and you're gonna win this fight for sure. Because
Yep.
you just put in hours, you put in time, you put in the effort, and you put in like the conscious effort into making sure that you're gonna win this fight. So again, that confidence comes from making sure that you practice it. I think one of the very big examples so I heard this from ex-teammate once, whereas he had some family matters and he couldn't practice as much, so he could just hop on for practice and do the screams, do the theory, and he has to go off. And he had, I think, 60 hours past 2 weeks, whereas compared to the rest of us, we were at 80 to 110 hours. And he didn't feel as confident because he didn't put as many hours into the game. So if you know that you put in the hours into the game, you put in the effort, the practice, you're definitely going to be a lot more confident. And when you're confident, you're going to be consistent. So I think that all leads, it's all just one thing that leads to another that helps you overall become like a more consistent and a better player. So yeah, definitely these three things. And then consistent overall. So I'm going to move on from individual consistency now into team-based consistency. For team-based consistency, it's a little bit more straightforward. So team-based consistency comes from sticking to the game plan, making sure you're doing your dry runs and your theory so that you're always doing the same thing. Your entry fragger is entering the right way, he's running the same lines, he's getting the same flashes from his team. The smokes are landing, they're running the smokes are landing, they're throwing the right smokes, the molotovs are landing, all this. And the next thing will be always trying to find the best case scenarios to play in with your team. So this again leads to better decision making. You want to use the information, you want to play the numbers, you want to find the most optimal play. And after adapting to how a certain team plays, you have the fundamentals, you have the foundations as a team, you have the protocols. Team-based consistency comes from building on top of those foundations into making sure that you're overall good player for a team and you're overall good team. So team-based consistency is a lot more straightforward. It's just sticking to the game plan, sticking to your protocol, sticking to your guidelines, making sure that you do your dry runs, and always as a team figuring out the best case scenario for your team and making the most optimal play together. So I guess that would be how you be consistent overall in both an individual and a team-based level. So that was, I think, a bit faster paced, but overall, I tried to condense this as much as I can to make it understandable and at the same time quite straightforward. So any questions from my dear players that you guys would want to ask right now would be a good time.
Not from me. Anyone else?
I have a question, Impression. I feel like momentum for me is very important to feel confident in game and to also uh, rotate and act in a proactive manner in the server. So if I'm not able to get frags in the first 5 or 6 rounds, I feel like my brain just goes off and I'm playing very weird.
Yeah.
So I'm not very sure how to adjust at that time. Do I play very passive or do I go aggressive and try to find frags because momentum is also important? So how would you tackle this situation if it happens to you?
So I guess first of all, let's tackle momentum. So momentum is something that, like you say, it's like the rhythm of the game. It's something that's built upon. So when I was in game leading for a pro team, what I used to do was plan out the first 5 rounds. Now maybe the first 3 rounds would make sense. So you plan out the pistol round, and you plan out the anti-eco or the force buy round, depending on whether you win or lose the pistol round, right? And then you plan out the first gun round. So these 3 rounds, once you have it planned out, your players will do the exact same thing that they've dry run already, that they know what's up. So regardless of whether you win or lose the rounds, or you hit or don't hit the shots, your players are running exactly what they should be running. And that way it also builds momentum even if you lose all 3 rounds. So that's one of the things that I guess you could apply individually or maybe in a team setting. It's definitely up to you guys how you want to do it. But individually, I would feel that on the individual level, if I want to make sure that I build some momentum, if I'm not hitting shots, I make sure I'm doing still the right things. And during the game itself, during the officials, I'll just I'll make sure it doesn't affect me. I'll say like, he just hit a lucky shot, or maybe I pick this angle slightly wider next time, or I pick it more safely this time. But I was end up doing
Right.
the same thing with just micro adjustments, and then seeing how that pans out. Because if you're in an official tournament, you definitely have to recover. It's like your responsibility as a player to be professional about it, to be able to control your emotions, and also make sure that you shoot and hit shots the way you want to and the way the team needs you to. So that's one way to go about momentum. Another is just so if things are really really going super rough for you, what you can do is just rely on your fundamentals and the protocol set by your team. Try and take more fights with your team, rather than like forcing a 1v1 that you might not necessarily win. And also, I think one of the most important things, say you have some time, it could be like a slow round from the opponent, or you could have taken a pause, contribute to the team, type a little bit, talk a little bit, and then just breathe. And the most important thing, honestly, is to just breathe. Many players, when they're in tough situations, just forget to breathe, and then they just don't hit anything because you're just lacking oxygen in your head and in your fingers. So
Right.
it's good to just tell yourself, okay. So there was a particular situation where I was super anxious, I was very nervous, and I realized like my heart was pacing. It was like a really key moment. So what happened was I just told myself, okay, I'm just gonna breathe. Like in my head, I just told myself, okay, breathe in, breathe out. That took 5 to 10 seconds, and then I asked my team, okay, guys, what do you have? So they all start talking. I start that chain of communication with my team. They say, okay, I have B covered. They can't come B. And another one of my teammates answer, I have short. They can't come out short. And then eventually, as you intake that information and you intake oxygen at the same time, what's gonna happen is that it's all gonna draw like a really clear picture in your head, so that whatever happens, you're gonna be ready. You may or may not hit the shot, but at least you know that you're trying your best there, and that builds upon your own confidence as a player and gets you a bit of momentum. Even if you don't win the fight, even if you don't win the round, that you are doing the right thing. You're doing your best and the right thing that you have in your mind at that point of time, and that's going to help you kind of recover a little bit. So breathing, my brother. Just make sure you do it.
Right. Thanks.
Yes.
Even I have a question.
Yep.
So, how can I practice clutch scenarios where I am trying to improve my decision making? Like, if I am in a situation 1vx, so how do I improve my decisions? Like, I'm able to get the first frag in the most of the scenarios where, for example, I am in a clutch situation where there are 2 people or 3 players.
Yeah.
For the first frag, I'm very confident that the initial frags are very easy for me.
Yep.
But when you go ahead, you have a less time and you are not able to win a situation. It is more frustrating. Like you get 2 frags and you're not able to convert the round.
Yeah. So I guess when you put in a clutch situation, right? I would
Yeah.
say that trying your best is definitely enough. Everybody's just holding their breath to see whether or not you actually make the clutch. It's fantastic. It's a huge momentum changer if you do win a clutch. There are many expectations, of course. However, if you don't win it, I think it's completely fine as well. However, if you have full information of where every single CT, say for example your T, and then you're about to clutch, and then you have information on every single CT and where they're coming from, what weapon they're using, then there's a higher chance of you winning those clutches. It's very difficult to say that you're in a 1v3 situation as a T, and you only have information on one guy, and you have a high chance of winning those clutch situations. That's why clutch situations are so... That's why, players get popular or famous like Zipnix or Coursera for winning clutches, because it's all really situational. It doesn't mean just because you're a good aimer, you'll be able to win clutches. You need to be able to have information that's passed down to you and making informed decisions, such as say I plant a bomb here. I know there's like 2 market and 1 coming from B shot. So which fight should I be taking first? So generally what I want to do is I want to take the fight that's solo first. I want to isolate fights. I wait here again for this guy to come out, and then I maybe get the third frag here. But against smart players and good teams, what they're gonna do is they're all gonna come at you together. They're gonna make your clutch situation like really as least possible in terms of chances of winning as possible, and that just makes your life as someone playing the clutch situation like really difficult. So definitely don't be disheartened if you don't win clutches. However, I would say that in a clutch situation, if you have all the information in the world, what you're gonna be relying on is your confidence in taking aim duels and then isolating fights and then just taking down people one at a time. Because if you're gonna peek into like super ready people and they're gonna be like 2v1ing you and the two guys are gonna appear on your screen at the same time, it's really hard to make that work. You could hit amazing shots and that's where you get a clutch with like huge round because you hit like two crazy shots at one time. Or you could just be you get one, you get traded and then you lose the round. Definitely don't be disheartened if you lose clutches. I would say that every clutch situation you play in will eventually help you become better individually in understanding, how certain angles work, how certain players or teams move.
Okay. Also, one more thing. How do you prepare mentally for high competitive pressure games where the stakes are high
Mhm.
and you have to motivate your team and you know that the opponents are a little bit better than you? Then how
Yeah.
do you mentally prepare yourself?
Yeah, so I guess there like I said, Counter-Strike has become like a studied science. I feel like there are things that you can do to help yourself be in top form. One of those things is actually it can go into many things. So what I used to do was I really watch my diet. So I don't have too heavy meals if I like on game day, like 2-3 hours before the game. I'll make sure that my body is fresh, it's ready to do what it needs to do. Diet could also include not having too much sugar before the game, and then only intaking sugar during the game so that it peaks throughout the game, and you don't have a sugar crash as well. So that way you're fresh. Say for example you have a Red Bull, you're not gonna drink the Red Bull an hour before the game, and then by the time your game starts, you're already feeling tired because that sugar has went out of your body already. You wanna take like a couple of sips before, like 10 minutes before it goes live, so that it kicks in during pistol, and you just have like small sips throughout the game, and eventually that helps you stay like fresh essentially. Another thing that you can be doing is, so I practice mindfulness. So what I do is I watch. There's a lot of free stuff now online. It be on YouTube, Netflix, whatever. You can watch videos of how to meditate. So before a game, I would do like breathing exercises, or I would do like a short 10 to 15-minute meditation. Whereas I think one of the things that I like to do the most is meditate about all the good things and think about all the good things I have in life, all the things that I'm thankful for, all the things that I'm grateful for, my parents, my siblings, my wife, the amount of success that I've had in Counter Strike, even visualizing clutches that I'll win, visualizing things that I'll be doing, utility I'll be throwing in the game, in the match itself, and then just making sure that you're mentally ready. You breathe before the game, you do a bit of meditation, you put yourself in the right mindset, in the right mentality to go and show yourself as a champion, as a player that is worthy of winning something. And that's something that you can try as well, I think.
Okay. Thanks.
I have a question, impression.
Yep.
If we are taking default, for example, in ancient we are taking cave control. So is it still applicable? Like, should we play spawn based, or there should be dedicated players towards there?
I would
Like,
say that it depends on how you want to run the team.
mhm.
So I play the same banana position on T in Ancient, whereas I'm the one going to heaven or jump up to kind of take mid control, or I'm taking cave control in B, right? So sometimes with the best spawn, I would want to run really quick to cave. But sometimes if I don't have the best spawn, then I'll just call like I'm just gonna walk banana slowly and try to take cave control slowly, just and then tell the rest of my team like, hey, make sure you guys molly jump up the boxes and heaven so that they come up in like have a good fight against me too early in the round. So that way I kind of depict the fights that I want to take by asking my teammates to chuck utility here, there, or everywhere, and then you can run your default in the safe way.
So it's better to play with dedicated players rather than spawn
I
based.
would say dedicated players definitely helps, but if you have like a set plan, whereas okay, we must take cave control, you have the best spawn, you should do it, then that guy, if he's confident or if you guys have practiced enough, everyone should be able to do it. I would say that right now in Counter-Strike, you may have dedicated roles, say you're entry fragger, you're trade fragger, you're support player, you're an AWPer, but however there are situations whereas, say for example, let's put an example here, whereas I'm the entry fragger on Eastside Mirage, right? I'm gonna come here, I'm gonna get entry on connector, and then eventually I'm gonna be connector guy. And what's gonna happen here is that maybe my team wants to regroup to go B. Then what do I become? I can't possibly get out of connector and then go entry B, right? So I'm gonna become the lurker, dedicated lurker here instead to call the swings if I get an A pick. So every player must have a good enough individual level to be able to do all the roles whenever it's required of them. So I'm not sure if you guys have heard about Bogdan's law. So it's essentially, if I'm 5 HP as entry fragger and my AWPer is full HP, I'm definitely gonna try and ask the off from him. Yeah, and then he can go and do my role instead. So in order to be like a good player individually, you must definitely be able to be well-rounded enough to be in any situation and do what is required of you. So being flexible overall as an individual can really help your team at the end of the day. So to your question, I would say that it is situational. I like to have dedicated players doing certain control things, but if your team has like a set play, then then is spawn based, then definitely you should be doing that as well. So when Overpass was still in the map rotation, those spawns were actually super important, because in Overpass there's a spawn that goes like all the way in front, and that guy has like the best chance of like rushing B and winning the round. So yeah, but nowadays spawns are a little bit more locked in. Like Ancient, for example, has locked in spawns. So I would say that if everyone can do a certain play and your team has like a good rush or good fast take, then definitely you don't want to have like dedicated, don't want it to be like, oh, he's not in this spawn, he's our cave guy, okay, let's cancel that. However, you want to have players who are all capable of doing things that is required of them in order for your team to win rounds.
So it's situational.
Definitely situational, yeah. It depends on your team. It really depends on your team.
Yep. Cool, got it.
All right. So how to be consistent overall? Any more questions we have?
Anyone else, guys?
No.
Anyone guys?
No.
Awesome. So I guess maybe I'm sorry, please go ahead.
Yeah, like since none of us have questions, I like to ask a question from the chat. Like,
Sure.
someone asked like, what makes a good team? The type of characteristics the players need to have. Like, how as an individual, what characteristics they should have to be in a good team or to make a good team?
I guess I would say honestly, you want to have first of all, you want to have like very coachable players that are really open to feedback and learning from your coach or each other or from other sources of like other educational sources in terms of improving in Counter-Strike. So you want players that are confident and arrogant and egotistical, but only towards the opponent. You want players who can let go of their own ego, their own like like ego and confidence when it comes to talking to and playing with the rest of your team, because you want them to work well together. You want players who think like they are the best in the world, but only because they have this guy beside him or that guy beside him. And then together you can take on anybody or anyone in the world. Essentially, yes, it may be a long shot to say like, oh yeah, I'm definitely giving Vitality a run for their money, or giving Spirit a run for their money. However, you have to have the confidence to say it anyway. It doesn't matter if you mean it or not. But just say it and then just try and do it together. And just never use that ego with your teammates, because it's super important that you work well with your team. And if you're someone that's hard to work with, you're not like the greatest characteristic in terms of trying to talk nicely, talk in a straightforward way with each other, then you're definitely gonna have what we call in Mandarin a heart sickness, whereas you don't really want to work with a certain somebody, and then that really just spirals out of control most of the time.
Thank you. This another question if I like to ask. Like
course.
Rambo asked like how to keep yourself calm when you're opening up a site for your team, but your team is not playing post plant really well. What to do in that situation?
So I guess again, if your if you want to become when opening a site, it's really simple. You should know like what sort of flashes you're gonna like your teammates has from this toolkit. If you're playing in a park, then essentially, if you have someone that you're playing with all the time, and this guy really likes to help you set you up, then you know what he's going to throw, you know what lines you're going to run, you know what are the angles that you're gonna hit, that you're gonna have to clear, and then you just basically do your thing when the time comes, right? However, if you're playing with like you're playing like just solo queue, you're just playing alone, then just basically express your own skill. Try and use whatever you have within your toolkit. You could be like a funny smoke, or you could be chucking something that just annoys the enemy. Like you could be doing like the B default with this smoke, this mole, and then just waiting for information, making them use utility, and then eventually you can do a flash to try and throw them off, and you can slowly search angles. It could be 1,000 different ways that a player has in their playbook in order for them to go and open up a site on the individual, like when you're solo queuing. However, in the team setting, it's usually very simple because your team is going to be throwing utility over, the entire village is going to be throwing some flashes, and then all you have to do is just really run your lines, right? You just run your lines, clear your angles, and then that's about it. So it depends on the situation once again, what sort of setting you're playing in. But if you know there's some things coming in, you know there's utility coming in, and you know that people are going to be helping you, then you just have to basically do whatever you need to. You have practice and whatever you need to do, right? And sorry, what was the second part of the question?
Like, it was like, how if your team is not playing post plant really well, what do you do in that situation?
So I guess again, if you're solo queuing, you're just gonna go and queue everyone that you can. However, if you're in a team setting, there should be certain nades or utility that your team knows you like to throw, or certain ways that you like to do things. So I guess one of the prime examples that I can give here is one of the retake or post plant protocols I have on Dust 2 would actually be this particular flash. So just a moment as it loads up. So when I have B after plant, post plant, I'm number T. I always tell my team to have this flash ready. So essentially what happens is that if the CT start retaking, so nades are coming in, mollies, bomb, flash, you throw this flash, and then when the CTs are running in, they're going to be blind by this. And then your team starts picking off of this flash because they have nowhere else to look, right? And this is one of the protocols that I have as a flash. And if you don't have a guy here because you need a guy tunnels, and maybe there's like 2 on side or 1 at car and 1 on side, so this guy can throw the same flash as well. It all has the same effect. So essentially, if you have a post plant thing that you can be throwing, or something that you really like to do that you think will net you the round win, then definitely implement that into your gameplay. Then again, if let's say for example we're on CT. So another post plant example I have would be as a CT retaking A. Let's say they come out short, we still have long. So what we're gonna do is we just throw this smoke, and then we have flashes like this. So as these flashes pop, your teammate runs into the smoke, they're covered, and then the long guy throws one more flash here, and then you guys just kinda retake like that. So you have entire side, maybe you have molly to do Gandalf. So it's all things like this that you should implement into your own playbook. Utility is important to know. Then also certain running lines that you should have as a team is important when you're retaking certain things. So post plant is mainly all theory. Once you have the theory down, then it's just executing and doing the right things. So just remembering you need to do it.
Understood.
Yep. Anything else from chat maybe, or from the players?
This one question is, it's like, suppose our opponent is strong, what we should play in attacking mode or defensive mode, and why?
I guess if you know your opponents are strong, I would assume that you already done demo reviews, or they have plenty of VODs and demos that you can look at. So essentially, I played at a level where it was tier 1 in Asia and every team was strong, but they all had their little quirks or little things that they would like to do, how they execute, how certain players run certain lines. And we tried to find like small little things that we could abuse. So like a long time ago, I think one of the teams that was really good was, I believe it was what name was the team? But basically they had an IGL that was really aggressive, and he would always throw this one particular smoke before he runs like A long, and I would see that smoke and I would keep my molly to molly him when he runs that line, and then that way I get a free kill and I know what round they are running exactly. So against a really strong team, it's not so much so as like do we play more offensive and aggressive, or do we play more defensive and passive, but it's more towards like abusing little things that they do and then adjusting what you have and how you can play against it in order to find the most optimal play. It can be like counter-striking one player and knowing that, oh, this player is running this line, it has to be that round, and then you identify, and then also you acknowledge the information and you have more players towards where they're hitting, and then you just win like possibly a free round that way just cause you're ready for them to come.
Thank you.
No worries.
I think that's it from the chat. If players have
Awesome.
questions, they can go ahead.
Anything from players?
I have a question.
Sure.
So as an opper, like a team opper, what's the most crucial thing for me? Like as an opper, what should be the most important thing for me to
You
remember throughout
you
the
wanna
game?
know you wanna know the most straightforward answer?
Yeah.
Hit your off shots. Yeah, so you're investing 4,750 into a player that
Yeah.
can has one shot kill potential. So
Yeah.
essentially, the most important thing that you have to do is hit your shots.
Yeah.
However, I would say that what's important is also knowing when to switch between aggressive and defensive mode. So
yeah.
you can be an opper, whereas you really like holding lines like this, and you're just cutting off rotation. Or
Yeah.
when the situation needs you to, you can start searching with AVP like this all the way into CT, because these are so good angles for you to hit one shot and then just hold the angle, and then your teammates can just, let's say you kill the CT guy, your teammates can just play off of his smoke and then they go mid to B. And then also if you have spawn based things, you can go start walking and contacting B. So being an opper, I think the most important thing to remember is that you have possibly a lot of space, and you should definitely try and use it if you can.
Yeah. Got it.
Yeah, but what's important is that you communicate with your team, right? So if you have like the rotation a lot, you say, guys, they can't rotate mid. We just need info on how many B, how many A, and then we make decision, stuff like that. And I would say there are a lot of oppers that are like super passive now. However, there's always that reward, right? If you go high risk, and you can kind of go and get that opening for your team. So just if I'm building a team right now, I would basically build it around the opper. First the coach, and then the AVP, and then you find the IGL that can work well with the AVP and the coach, and then every other player that can mesh well with the team. It's super important to have a team that basically essentially works well together. They can all synchronize, be on the same page, the same mindset, the same mentality, and then just doing well overall, I think.
Alright. Thank you.
Impression. How can I become an overall better IGL? Like, what are the steps should I
I
take?
think as an IGL, you're not exactly working alone. So you work with the entirety of your team. It's not like an IGL is a role whereas you just have to make all the decisions by yourself. Sure, there are moments where they really look upon you to make the right decision. However, it's important that the rest of your team also understands the way you want to call and how they can contribute to how they can help you call. Like say, if I'm the A long lurker as a T, and my IGL is like unlocking LT, he's doing map control. You wanna know the most answer?
Yeah.
Oh sorry. Sorry. I just heard my voice.
Yeah,
I thought
That's
know
the third.
it.
who is this Singaporean guy interrupting me? I think. Yeah. So, so essentially, what you need to do is make sure that your players are giving you the right information for you to make the right calls, and also be open to suggestions that your teammates can be making. Like say, if I'm the A long lurker and then I'm telling you as the IGL like, hey, they really don't play A long, we should really just take A long for free. Or they always leave one A long only, let's just do late long take and then we can play the rounds off after we take this map control. And you just be like, your team needs to be proactive. So like I said, every player in every team needs to be capable of doing and contributing things to the team, not just within the realms of their own role, but rather within the realms of their own control. So this guy may be usually an entry fragger, but he's now in the lurking position and he's giving you so much information, so you should definitely use it. Be open to adapting different types of playstyles. Work well with your coach and find what is the best possible solution for your team if you're encountering any difficulties. And then just overall, it's just I think one of the most important things that new or IGLs that are currently still trying to figure their style out is that sometimes if you need to call, just hide in the corner and just be safe. It's really common for me because I play the LT guy, right? It's really common.
Yeah.
It's super common for me to come here and then I'm just like looking at my left and my right, the screens of my teammate. I'm looking at radar. I'm like, okay, guys, we're gonna do this. I'm calling, and then suddenly, okay, flash, and then once I'm ready, then I start doing my thing. I cut the flash pop, then I come in and take control. And then again here I'm like, okay guys, we got shot, okay, let's do this. You're just super safe all the time. Right? So one of the
You
things that
should
people
take a little bit of time.
yeah.
While
So
giving
one
calls.
of the things that I used to do wrongly was like I would be like holding a super aggressive angle. I'll be like looking at my teammate's screen, the guy comes up, pop, I'm dead, and then I just start calling from as a ghost instead. So what I really want to do is set myself up or set my teammates up, throw everything I can, and then then afterwards I go in. Even if I give information now, I can make good call. Or if I get a pick here, maybe I drop CT. Maybe I drop CT, I get a pick here, and now like guys, I got CT, just go B, and then they're like, okay. Another thing is like when communicating, they have to acknowledge, okay, we're going B, and then that way you don't start spamming comms and stuff like that. So a bunch of the different things that you can make your life easier with as IGL. One of them I would really suggest is working with your coach and the rest of your team to integrating the right protocols and the right guidelines in order for you to make life a lot easier for yourself. You don't have to talk as much. You just need to call certain plans and stuff like that, and you can just have a better time fragging overall. I personally do not believe in IGL that can't frag in the sense where it's like it's no longer an excuse to say like, oh, I can't frag because I'm calling. You should be setting yourself up to get those frags and doing your best you can as a player of the team to contribute to the team itself.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
Yep, that's all.
All right, awesome. Anyone else with anything else that they want to get off their minds?
Nope.
Learned a lot already.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess so just recap, we ran through today how to have better decision making in game, how to adapt faster in the game if you see something new, how to stay on the same page as a team, and how to be consistent overall, along with some viewer questions of characteristics in the team that makes a team work well, how to approach playing against teams that are kind of stronger than you. I think, like I mentioned earlier today, Counter-Strike is a studied science. There are many ways to approach many different things, be it the mental aspect, the actual physical, mechanical aspect of things. And I think I covered quite a bit today that hopefully, we have the VOD to watch and kind of review on after today's sharing session. And if at any point of time, I feel like if you feel that there's a certain difficulty that you're encountering that you're not too sure how to figure out, feel free to just drop me a message on my socials. I'm at official impression on Instagram or on Twitter, at ImpressionGG. I'll be more than happy to help you guys out.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Impression.
Thank you.
Thank
you
you for
so
coming,
much.
Impression.
And
was
thank you for
great.
having me. It's
Yeah,
been an honor. I
it
get
was
to
a great
revisit.
session.
Yeah, I get to
Yeah,
revisit a lot of
It
topics
was.
that I've had in my head for a very long time since I technically kind of like hung up the mouse like 2 years ago and kind of back to playing a little bit nowadays. And getting to revisit a lot of the basics and the fundamentals really helps myself as well. And I hope it helped you guys here today as well.
It
Yes.
really helped.
Yeah.
Guys, before we wrap up this session, I would just like to ask Impression that how was your overall experience with the squad in this session?
I think you guys are awesome. You guys asked like really good questions. That kind of got my brain going as well on how to answer them. And I hope that whatever I shared today can be, fruitful to your growing experiences as a player. So I really look forward to seeing you guys more in Counter-Strike, and that you guys continue to, play, play what you love and have fun doing it, because that's just super important. Like I said, practicing honestly sucks. Losing is hell. But winning is all about the winning, and if you're putting in the effort, eventually it will come to you. So keep the grind going on, and yeah, maybe one day I'll see you guys on the server.
Yes, for sure, for
Yes,
sure.
for sure.
For
Yeah.
sure, man.
Yes.
Awesome.
And any final thoughts about ROG Academy?
I think this is a great initiative. India has such a huge population and so many talented players, so many smart people. I feel that with the right direction and with the right players, which I feel that you guys already have today, if you add on more into the catalog of talent that you already have, and just kind of grind it out a little bit more, have a little bit more guidance, and possibly even adopt like more professional settings, or like a full-on professional team where they're just like fully paid to play and they have nothing else to worry about but just fragging it out. I think this is like a huge step that can go a long way to improving the esports scene in general for India.
All right. Thank you so much, Impression, for enlightening the whole team and giving them some great insights. And I think even the team is thankful for the session.
Yes, yes, for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
We learned a lot
Awesome.
today.
Yeah.
No,
Yes, yeah.
I'm honored to be here. I'm so thankful for you guys for having me and listening to me yap for like 2 hours or so.
Yeah.
All right,
So,
awesome. If that's it, I guess I shall take my leave. I hope today's sharing session was fruitful.
Yes.
And again, if you need any help, feel free to reach out. I would love to, talk to you guys individually if you have anything that I can help with, for sure.
Sure.
For
Thank you,
sure.
Impression.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Awesome.
much, Impression.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you to the viewers as well, whoever tuned in. I hope they are a better CS2 player now. So yeah,
Now they will be for sure.
for sure. All
Awesome.
right then. All
Thank you.
right.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Bye. Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Bye. Thank you so
Impression.
much.
Also, all the best for
Yeah, for
your
Zoe.
for Zoe Extremes.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm really,
All the best,
really
man.
looking forward to putting on a good showing. So hopefully, you guys will tune in and support as well.
Yes, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yes, bro.
for sure, for sure.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.
Thank you.